Today's daf, Be'ezus Hashem, is Masechet Nedarim Daf Pei Beis. We'll do some review from the Mishnah of Daf Ayin Tes, and we will start from Pei Aleph Amud Aleph and get to Pei Beis Mitzvah Hashem. So just to review the Mishnah, because it's very crucial that we get the fundamentals of the Mishnah in place. The Mishnah discusses the Nedarim that a husband could nullify for his wife. And there are two types of Nedarim. One type of nether is called Devarim Sheyesh Behem Inu Nefesh, a type of nether that a woman makes that causes pain to her body. Now, the question is going to be, what's called pain to her body? One can understand that if she says, I'm answering myself on food, and she says she's not going to eat during the daytime and only going to drink at night, that's something that causes pain to her body. Certainly, the husband can nullify such a nether. So the Mishnah is going to discuss what is called Devarim Sheyesh Behem Inu Nefesh. There is something that does not cause pain to her body, but it could cause marital strife. That's called Devarim Shebeinoi Leveino, something that would cause some marital strife, and therefore that would also be involved with a nether that the husband has a right to mefer. And we'll see a few examples of that as well. So, but there is a difference between a nether that she made that causes her pain versus a nether that she made that causes marital strife. If she makes a nether that causes her pain, the Torah gives full rights to the husband to nullify such a nether. And when he nullifies that nether, it doesn't exist anymore. That nether is gone forever. Vis-a-vis a nether that she made that causes marital strife, that's called Devarim Shebeino Leveino, between husband and wife, so he can nullify the nether, but that nullification only is effective as long as they're married together. If he would die, then the nether would come back in place. The nether would come back and take effect. So we'll see more about that in the Gemara that we're going to learn. So the Elu Nedarim Shehu Mefer. The Mishnah began and says the following on Nedarim that a husband could nullify. Nullify absolutely means nullify forever. And that is Devarim Sheyesh Behem Inu Nefesh. That the Chumash says it has to be something that causes her pain in her nefesh, in her body or consciousness. So something, a nether that would cause her pain, that is something that would be a nether that the husband could be made for, could nullify. She says, Im erchatz v'im lo yarchatz. She says, I make a nether. Okay, we're going to learn Im erchatz means I'm not. This is the nether which the Gemara interpreted that the result of this nether is it stops her from taking a bath for one day. Or Im lo yarchatz. She says, I make for sure I'm never going to ever take a bath. A shvua, she swears, I'm never going to take a bath. So those two types of nedarim or shvuas causes her pain, but it's not like a physical pain. It's like it's a cleanliness pain. I'm going to tell you that it means that she says, I'm never going to take a bath, a hot bath, but she could take a cold shower. So she's not going to have the enjoyment of a bath. So according to the Chachamim of a hot bath, according to the Chachamim, that is considered a nether of Inui Nefesh. That is considered a nether that causes her pain because she can't take a hot bath. She can only take cold showers for the rest of her life. And therefore the husband could nullify such a nether, could pay for such a nether. She says, Im es kashet, v'im lo es kashet. She says, I make a nether that I'm not going to adorn myself for one day. That's the result of her nether. She can't even adorn herself for one day. Or she swears she's never going to adorn herself for the rest of her life. I mean, it means she's not going to put on face makeup and eye makeup. So then, again, it doesn't really cause her pain per se, but according to the Chachamim, it's a light discomfort where she cannot use makeup anymore. It's considered enough of a pain that the classification of such a nether is called Inui Nefesh, a nether that causes pain for the husband, and therefore when he is made for that, when he is nullifying it, it's nullified forever. That's the opinion of the Chachamim. So the Chachamim is that you don't have to have such an intense pain to be considered a neder that is inu nefesh. Even if it's a neder that causes her discomfort or a little stress, that's called a neder of inu nefesh. And therefore the husband can nullify it forever. But Rabbi Yossi disagrees. Rabbi Yossi holds, no, Amar Rabbi Yossi says, Ein elu nidre nefesh, inu nefesh. This is not considered a neder that causes her pain, because really there is no pain if she's not going to take a bath forever, but she could take cold showers. But so that's not considered an inu nefesh type of neder, something that causes her pain. The elu hey nidre nefesh. This is an example, a good example of a neder that causes her pain. Amra. If she says, koinim peiros ha'olam alai, she asks on herself all fruits and vegetables. So what's she going to eat? She's going to eat meat and fish, but she's never going to eat anything that grows from the ground, whether it's fruit, vegetable, beans, grains, nothing. So then that causes pain if she can't have this basic food stuff. He could nullify such a neder. Okay? Peiros medina zu alai. So therefore, you see, by the way, that the main point is Rav Yossi is that if it causes intense pain, that's called a nidre inu nefesh. If it causes a light pain, that's not considered inu nefesh. But according to Rav Yossi, even though it's not considered an inu nefesh, it's dvarim shebeino leveino. So, for example, according to Rav Yossi, if she says, I'm not going to adorn myself, I'm not putting on eye makeup and face makeup, that's not something that's called an inu nefesh neder. According to Rabbi Yossi, that's called a dvarim shebeino leveino. He could nullify it because it's a personal thing. He wants his wife to have makeup on. So therefore, he could nullify it, but as soon as he dies, the neder comes back in effect. So it's nullified as long as they're married to each other, but afterwards it comes back. So that's the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. In order to be classified an inu nefesh, where the husband has the right to nullify it forever, it has to be in intense pain. Now the Mishnah gives you an example. Peiros medina zuhalai. According to if a woman said the fruits of this country should be also to me. Let's say she said the fruits of New York should be also to me. Any fruits and vegetables brought from New York, I don't want to have hana from. So then that's not called inu nefesh. Then it's not called inu nefesh because the husband can bring to her food from New Jersey. So therefore, it's might be not classified as inu nefesh because she does want to eat fruits and vegetables, but she doesn't want New York fruits and vegetables. So that means it causes some inconvenience for the husband. So it's not an inu nefesh type of neder. It's called dvarim shebeino leveino. It's a personal neder that affects the husband. So that's what this is the Tan of the Mishnah is continuing that. What happens if she says peres chanve nezeh alai? She says, I don't want to eat the fruits of this particular store. So she says, let's say I'm not eating the fruits and vegetables from ShopRite. So then eina yachol lahafer. The husband has no right to nullify such a neder, because he could easily buy the fruits and the foods and the fruits and vegetables from another store. But if the only store that gave him credit was this particular store that she made a neder on was the only one that sold the fruits and vegetables to the husband, even if he didn't have cash, he just said, I'm going to pay you later. So therefore, if she makes a neder, you can't buy from that store. Well, basically, she's saying that I can't buy from any store because there are many times I don't have the money for it. The husband will not have the money to pay, and he will not be able to provide for her fruits and vegetables. So therefore, if she made a neder from the store, the only store that he gets credit from, harei zeh yafer, then the husband has a right to nullify such a neder. Rabbi Yossi, this is the opinion of Rabbi Yossi. So again, Rabbi Yossi, we're going to learn again, and this is very crucial, that Rabbi Yossi, in order to describe a pain neder, inu nefesh type of neder, it has to be very painful for her to keep that neder. it has to cause a physical and extreme mental stress. And according to the Chachamim, you don't need such physical and mental stress. Even light physical pain and light mental stress is also considered an inu nefesh type of nether. Now let us go to Daf Pei Aleph Amar Aleph, and we'll get to where we have to go. Okay, we're starting from Pei Aleph Amar Aleph. About 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 9 lines from the bottom. So the Gemara asks a question. Amar Rabbi Yosi says, Ein elu inidrei nefesh. Okay, so I really told you the end of the game of the Gemara. But the Gemara wanted to know, according to Rabbi Yosi said in our Mishnah, that if a woman makes a nether, that she's not going to take a hot bath anymore. Okay? So then Rabbi Yosi says, that's not an inu nefesh type of nether. It's not a painful nether. She can take cold showers. And therefore, the husband, it's not called inu nefesh. Now, can the husband still mefer such a nether? Can he nullify such a nether? Is the fact that it's not called an inu nefesh type of nether, does that take it out from the fact that it could possibly be called something that causes marital strife? If she's not taking a hot shower, she's probably a hot bath, she's probably not washing herself 100% because it's too uncomfortable to take cold showers. So can he be made for it, despite the fact it's not an inu nefesh type of nether? So the Gemara asked the question. The Rabbi Yosi, according to Rabbi Yosi, Mahu shiyafa mishum dvarim shebeinoi leveinah. Can you consider this? Can you nullify this nether of not taking a bath, a hot bath? Is it, Rabbi Yosi says, a husband cannot nullify the nether because she can take a cold shower, but can he nullify it because this brings to marital strife between them? She's only taking cold showers. That could lead to marital strife. So, Tashema, let's come in here. Rabbi Yosi, Ein elu nidur nefesh. Rabbi Yosi did not say that he can't nullify that nether. He said it's not classified as an inu nefesh type of nether. So fine, that's what Rabbi Yosi says. If you look at his words, but what he means to say is dvarim shebeino leveino havin. He does agree that they become classified as marital strife type of nedarim. So therefore, the husband does have the right to be mefer. Again, the difference between the inu nefesh, if you classify it as the inu nefesh type of nether, or a beino leveino type of nether, is that if it's an inu nefesh type of nether, then he could absolutely nullify it and never comes back the nether. But if you classify it as a devarim shebeinoi leveinah, then so he can say, okay, as long as you're with me, you don't have this nether. He can nullify it and say you don't have this nether not taking a hot bath. But as soon as he dies, then the nether kicks in, and when he dies, she cannot no longer take a hot bath. So, but Rabbi Yosi did not mean to classify it as a nether that he cannot be made for. He could be made for, but it's classified as a devarim shebeinoi leveinah type of nether. So that's what the Gemara wanted to prove. So the Gemara says, no, it's no proof from the language of Rabbi Yosi, because Dilma lididhu kamalahu. Rabbi Yosi was speaking according to what the Rabbanan would hold. Rabbanan hold that even a light pain is considered an inu nefesh type of pain. So this is what Rabbi Yosi meant to say. Lididi, according to me, a woman's making a nether, she's not taking a hot bath. Atfila dvarim shebeinoi leveinah lehavin. That's not considered a nether that a husband can at all be made for, because let her take cold showers, big deal. But according to you, the Amri say habi nidri inu nefesh, you hold that this is called a nether of inu nefesh because it's causing pain. Oidulu, be agreed to me, they ain't nidri inu nefesh, that this is not a type of nether that causes pain because it doesn't cause intense pain. It's a light pain. It's a light uncomfort. So it shouldn't be classified as the inu nefesh pain. So could be you don't have a raya what Rabbi Yosi would hold by the loy erchatz type of shvua or nether that she makes that maybe it's not even classified as a nether that the husband has any rights to be made for. So what is the bottom line? So Rabbi Abba says mefer. The husband has a right to nullify, even according to Rabbi Yosi, the husband has a right to be mefer this nether. Why? Because it's a devarim shebeinoy leveina. At least it's that. It's not mean not maybe in your nefesh, but it's devarim shebeinoy leveina. Rav Huna says Rabbi Yossi will hold a mefer. You can never be made for this nether. That's it. It's gone. It's not a nether that the husband has any rights to. So why? So we go to Pei Aleph and Mebeis. So Rabbi Yossi said, Rav Huna said, the reason why is because Shalamitzinu Shual Shemeis Ba'afar Pir, that we don't find a fox dying in his own dirty den. In other words, once he will get used to her not taking hot baths, only maybe taking cold showers, so he'd get used to it. It's not going to really affect him and not hurt him in any which way, cause him physical pain, the husband. He'll get used to it. A wife only takes a cold shower. And even though she can't fully wash herself, it's not going to affect him so much. And therefore, it's not considered devarim shebeinoy leveino. That's the opinion Rav Huna understanding of Rabbi Yossi. But the Gemara says, no, Tanya Kavosid Rav Ada bar Ahava. There's a proof in a brisa that says, like Rav Ada bar Ahava, that Rabbi Yossi will hold that this is considered to be a type of neder, devarim shebeinoy leveino. Again, if a woman makes a nether, let's say, not only if she's not going to take a hot bath, let's say she makes a nether, according to Rabbi Yossi, she makes a nether, I'm never going to put on face makeup or eye makeup. According to the Tanakama of our Mishnah, face makeup, eye makeup is a painful nether. It's a light pain. She can't put on makeup. So therefore, it's a devarim she'inu nefesh. According to Rabbi Yossi, this price is going to prove that Rabbi Yossi will hold that, yes, it's not considered an inu nefesh because by her not putting on makeup, it's not such a intense pain by avoiding all makeup, but it's devarim shebeinoy leveina. It's something between husband and wife. It causes marital strife if the woman is not going to put on any makeup. And therefore, according to Rabbi Yossi, he could be made for such a nether. Tanya Kavosid Rabbi Yossi Rav Ada bar Ahava. Devarim sheyesh beim inu nefesh. If it's something that the Brisa says, that if it's a nether that causes her intense pain, Mayford, the husband has a right to nullify the nether. It's a nullification that lasts forever. In other words, it's absolute. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anything. It's absolutely, no matter if he dies, she marries somebody else, this nether is off. She'ein behem inin nefesh, if it's a type of nether that doesn't cause her intense pain. So beinoy lebeino, if it's a type of nether that its husband and wife causes marital strife, mefa, then he could nullify it. But it only exists, this nullification only exists only while they're married. Beino lebein acherim, but if she gets married to somebody else, ein mefer, it's not considered a nullified nether. The nether kicks into place. Ketzad, the Mishnah gives you examples. What's an intense type of pain? Koinem Amr, she says, Koinem peros alai. I'm never eating fruits or vegetables. Okay? So you want you to eat only meat and fish. Hareza yafer, the husband could make for such a nether. What happens? Another example. Koinem, she makes a nether. She'ena oisu lefi abba. I'm never going to my father's house. You know, his father-in-law. She's angry at her father. Lefi achicha, I'm never giving a present, let's say, or doing something for your brother. Lefi abicha, to your father. Lefi achi, to my brother. So all these things, why would that cause marital strife? It's nothing related personally. She's not doing for the husband. She's just not doing something for her relatives, for his relatives or her relatives. So therefore, we're going to learn that he cannot be made for such an adam. Wow. She says that I'm never, she says to her husband, I'm never going to give straw to your animal or water to your cattle. So he is she is not obligated to do any, services for him. It's his animal and his cattle. She doesn't have to give water or straw to that animal. And we're going to learn that, like the Ram explains, that if she has maids to do it, she can make a nether that she's not doing. It's almost like if she makes a nether, a woman makes a nether, I'm never doing laundry. But she comes from a wealthy home and she brings maids to the house. So you can't force her to do the laundry because the maids will do it. So therefore, these are nedarim that don't cause marital strife because the the task needed to be done will be done, not by her, but by the maid. The laundry will get done. The food for the animals will get done by one of her maids. So ein yochal lahafer, he cannot nullify such a neder. But if she says shloi ekcha v'shloi efkais, she says she's not putting on face makeup or eye makeup, v'shloi shamish vitasi, and she says I'm not going to have marital relations. We're going to explain that in a minute. But look at that. She says she's not going to have makeup. Yofer, she could mayfer. She could nullify such a neder because these are things that cause husband marital strife, and therefore he can nullify such a neder. Now, this brisa is obviously the opinion of Rabbi Yossi, because according to the Chachamim, not putting on makeup is a dvarim she'inu nefesh, not a dvarim she'beinah lebeina. It's even a bigger type of neder where he could nullify it. It's a neder that causes her pain. And if the brisa says it's a devarim, an inu nefesh type of, it's not an inu nefesh, but it's a neder of beinah lebeina, must be the author is Rabbi Yossi. And Rabbi Yossi holds that although putting on makeup may not be a neder of inu nefesh, it's considered a marital type of relations, type of neder, and his nullification would work as long as they're married. If they're not married, once he dies, she cannot put on makeup anymore. And that already ends the brisa, that proof. But we're gonna the Gemara just finishes up the brisa. Let's say she says, "I'm never going to make your bed." Now, this, no matter how many maids a woman brings in, she has to do something that shows romance between husband and wife. So she can't say, in those days, making the bed was a type of expression of intimacy. So if she says, I'm not going to make the bed, or I'm not going to mix you a cup of wine, or I'm not going to help you wash your feet and hands, these are things that she's obligated to do. So she can't make a neder, I'm not going to do it, because she's violating her commitment that she made prior in getting married. That's what she has to do. And she's obligated to these things to him. So she cannot make a neder that she's not going to do it. So the part of the brisa says, Ein tzarich lahafir. He does not have to make for such a neder. Rabbi Gamliel says, Yofer, he should nullify such a neder. He should nullify such a neder, even though there is no neder to take effect in the first place, but we want to, go through the formalities of nullifying such a neder, so we shouldn't have her shoot things from her mouth and say, oh, we don't need nullification. And that's Rabbi Gamliel says, maybe it's midrabanan. He says, Shneema, Pasuk says, Lo yachal devarim. Any words that come out of your mouth should not be considered secular or profane. You have to take it seriously. Although this neder doesn't take effect, she should go through the formality. We force the husband to go through the formality of nullifying this neder because to get her accustomed that she can't just shoot things from her mouth. Davar achar, another interpretation of liyachal devarai. It says liyachal devarai. A person should make his own words profane. So from here we see lechacham. Even a person who's a musmach, he's an expert on nedarim, and he himself could be made for other people. He could release other people's from their vows without having a group of three. He's so smart. He knows the halachas that he's a mumcha. He could matir other people's nedarim, but she'ein matir nidri atzmai. But he's the only one that cannot. He has to actually go to another chacham to release his neder, but he cannot release his own neder. So that ends the brisa. But again, I proved to you the brisa that the brisa goes according to Rabbi Yossi. And Rabbi Yossi holds like efkais, not putting on makeup is considered to be devarim shebeinah lebeina. Man shaminim the amer, who is the author of this brisa that says like efkais devarim shebeinah lebeina havian, who would hold that not putting on makeup and eye makeup and face makeup is a marital strife type of neder, which could have nullification by the husband. Rabbi Yossi. Ukutani, and it does say the mefer, he could nullify it. So that's considered something between husband and wife, and therefore there's a proof to Rabbi Ada bar Ahaba that Rabbi Yossi doesn't say that the husband cannot be made for such nedarim. Those nedarim of not putting on makeup, or if she says she's not taking a hot bath, his nedarim are not considered painful nedarim, inu nefesh, but it's considered nedarim shebeinai leveino. Now that Gemara just does some housekeeping and explaining the brisa. We learned in the brisa it says v'shaloi ashamish mitasi. A person she said, I'm not going to have marital relations, and we say he should be nullify such a neder because that causes marital strife. So the Gemara wants to know how could she make such a neder in the first place? She's obligated to do those have marital relations with her husband. He should nullify such a neder. That causes marital strife, so he should nullify the neder. In other words, the neder does take effect, but he needs nullification. So the Gemara says, "Hey Chidami, what's the case?" She said, she could say that the benefit that I give you, Mr. my husband, should be usher to you, so that she has a right to do. The benefit that you derive from me should be usher to you. Lama li hafara. Why does the husband have to nullify such a neder? Ha mushubedeslei. She's obligated to have marital relations with her husband. So how could he be made for? How could she make such a neder in the first place? Ella, she could make a neder. But Imera, she said, Hanoas tashmishcha alai. She says to her husband, the benefit that I get from tashmish, from marital relations, that should be usher to me. Now, even though, so you can't force it down her throat if she says, I don't want to have enjoyment from marital relations. And then, in that respect, the neder takes effect. But because it takes effect, but it leads to husband strife because now he can't do marital relations with her. Therefore, he has a right to nullify that neder. To Rav Kahana, Rav Kahana says in the opposite case. If a man says to his wife, "Hanos tashmishcha alecha," the benefit you have from me, from marital relations, should be usher on you. So a husband cannot avoid having marital relations with his wife. That's one of his obligations. She'era ksusa v'inasa. So koifa, we force the husband. Umishamtoi koifa umishamtoi. I'm sorry, koifa umishamtoi. So again, it's talking about the other way. It's talking about where she made the neder and says she asks herself on her husband that the husband cannot benefit from marital relations, so we force her, and she has to have marital relations. But if she says the benefit from the enjoyment from marital relations should be also to me, she's saying I don't want to have enjoyment of marital relations from my husband. Yofer, the husband should nullify such a neder, even though it takes effect. And the reason is she'ein machilin es adam davar asalai. We don't give to eat somebody that's also to him. In other words, the neder takes effect because she's not giving up her responsibilities to her husband. She's just saying it the other way around. She's saying that she doesn't want to benefit from her husband, and because we never give something that's prohibited to that person, we don't force that down a person's throat, and therefore we need to mefer that neder. The husband has a right to be mefer that neder and nullify that neder. Okay, so there is a way around where the woman makes a neder that I'm not going to have marital relations that doesn't violate her commitment to her husband. If she says it in such a way that I make a neder that I don't want to benefit from the enjoyment of marital relations that you give me. So in that respect, the neder does take effect, and therefore it takes effect, but he has the right to nullify such a neder. Now the Gemara just says one more point. Mantana, who's the author of the following brisa? Hadetanya, we learned in a brisa. Devarim hamutarim, if you have permitted things. Let's say a group of people got together and said, we're not going to drink meat and eat meat and drink wine on Tuesday. So it's obviously permitted to eat meat and drink wine on Tuesday, but it says, it's things permitted to be done. Other people say they have a mitig. We're not gonna. They made a mitig that we're gonna act as if it's prohibited upon us. They didn't verbally take a neder, but for weeks and weeks and weeks they're not eating meat and drinking wine on Tuesday. So you're not allowed to just tell them, okay, you can now eat meat on Tuesdays anymore. You have to go through the formality of releasing them from the neder, even though they expressly did not make the neder. It's just a minig that they started being accustomed to themselves. That has some power like a neder, and therefore they have to go through the formality of having that custom released. Don't make your words profane, even though this is not really words. Don't make your actions profane. If you a group of people were accustoming yourself to do something prohibited, even though you didn't verbally express it as a nether, it becomes prohibited, and we should go through the formality of having that prohibition released. And that author is Rabbi Gamliel. This is where Mani Rabbi Gamliel. This should be up here. Another way to learn pshat of what lo yachal devar means. From here we see the Talmud Chacham shein mefer lidrei atzmai. The Gemara says that again from devar means you can't release your own nedarim, even though you're an expert and you release other people. You're in the business of releasing other people of their nedarim, but you can't release your own nether. Okay, so we just finished off the brisa. Now we're up to the bottom of the page of Pei Aleph Amud Beis. Now the Gemara asks two questions. The Gemara asks a question according to Rabbanan. Remember, according to Rabbanan, even a light pain is considered an inu nefesh type of nether, where the husband could be made for that nether. So the Gemara says, Boi minei Rava Marav Nachman. Rava Nachman said, Tashmish Hamita. If a woman, the woman assered on herself that she's not going to have relations, right? She's not going to have relations. Now, how does she do that? That's the way we learned. She says, I don't want to benefit and have the enjoyment of any marital, any intercourse with anybody, okay? So according to Rabbanan, is that causing her pain? If she abstains from having marital relations, is that something that causes her pain? And therefore, it's an inu nefesh, although it's not like an intense pain. It's not like not eating fruits and vegetables, where her whole nutrients in her body, is lacking. But it does cause her pain, so she can't have the benefits of relations with somebody. So Rabbanan, according to Rabbanan, is that inu nefeshu? Is that something a nether? Do we classify such a nether as an inu nefesh? Or devar shebeino lebeino, or is that a marital strife type of nether, which is limited, where the husband could asa her, could nullify it, but when the husband dies, it takes effect again. So is it an inu nefesh type of nether where the husband can nullify it and is an absolute nullification, or is it devar shebeino lebeino? So again, she made a nether that she doesn't want to enjoy tashmish hamita from anybody, right? Amalei, so Rav Nachman answered Rava Tanesa. It's a brisa. It's a Mishnah, actually. She said, Netula ani min Yehudim. She made a nether that I'm never going to sleep with any Jew. Okay? I'm never going to have marital relations with any Jew. So the Mishnah says, go to Pei Beis Amud Aleph, Yafer, Kelkoi, he can nullify the fact that she can't sleep with him. He'll nullify that part of the nether. But when he dies and she wants to marry somebody else, that nether will come back into place and she cannot sleep with anybody else. So we see clearly it's a devar shebeino. The amit nether ini nefesh hava. If you want to say making a nether is an absolute pain type of nether, so why does she remain usher to have marital relations with any Jew even after he passes on? If it's considered an inu nefesh type of nether, once he is made for that nether, it should be gone forever. Shmamina, from here you see this is a type of nether that's husband and wife stress type of nether, and therefore that's why he can nullify it. He can nullify it just for himself, not for in respect to other Jews. Then the nether still is in effect with result to other Jews. So that's what the Gemara thought you could answer this question from the Mishnah later on. So the Gemara says no, because the Mishnah later on, my question was according to Rabbanan. Again, Rabbanan hold that all you need is a very light pain, and maybe that's considered like inu nefesh. For example, the Rabbanan say that if she makes a nether, she's not taking a hot bath, so for the rest of her life, that's considered a light enough pain where the husband could be made for the nether. So according to according to the question was, according to Rabbanan, if she makes the nether, she's not going to have tashmish shamita. Is that considered an ini nefesh type of nether? So could be what you're bringing a proof from a Mishnah later on. That goes according to Rabbi Yossi, because according to Rabbi Yossi, none of these things are considered inu nefesh, because in order for an inu nefesh type to be considered an inu nefesh type of nether, it has to be such a massive type of nether that causes intense pain for her, and this is not. So that's what the Gemara says. Rabbanan tibaylach. My question is according to Rabbanan. Mishum de netula ani min Yehudin Rabbi Yossi kitanala. That Mishnah later on that calls it a devar shebeina leveina goes according to Rabbi Yossi, and I know, of course, according to Rabbi Yossi, it's considered devar shebeina leveina type of neder. But my question is, what would Rabbanan hold? And how do I know that Mishnah later on goes according to Rabbi Yossi? Rav Huna said, Kula Pirkin Rabbi Yossi. The entire Mishnayos that we're going to learn in this 11th parak, Be'ez Hashem, is according to Rabbi Yossi. How do you know? Bimai. How do I know that the entire parak goes according to Rabbi Yossi? So the Gemara is going to bring a proof from our Mishnah. Let's just get the Mishnah up there on the screen. Our Mishnah said that Amar Rabbi Yossi, and then it repeats Divrei Rabbi Yossi. These are the words Rabbi Yossi. Why does it repeat Divrei Rabbi Yossi if our Mishnah started off and saying Rabbi Yossi is talking, and then you're saying these are the words of Rabbi Yossi? Because it adds these words. These are the words of Rabbi Yossi to tell you all the rest of the Mishnayos that you're going to find later on in this parak go according to Rabbi Yossi. So that's why, of course, according to Rabbi Yossi, it's Devar Shebeina Lebeina. How do you know the rest of the parak is the opinion of Rabbi Yossi? Because the Gemara says, even the Ketan Rabbi Yossi, I'm ein elu yinu nefesh. Lameli tun lemisna harezi yafa. The Rabbi Yossi, why does our Mishnah have to go and repeat that these are the words of Rabbi Yossi? It started off as saying that the author of that part of the Mishnah is Rabbi Yossi, and then it says these are the words of Rabbi Yossi. Shema minod, but the Mishnah is trying to tell you mekam ve'elech Rabbi Yossi. The rest of the Mishnayos are considered Rabbi Yossi, not Rabbanan. And therefore, we don't paskin like these Stam Mishnayos later on, because they're just authored by one individual, Rabbi Yossi, even though it doesn't say so. It says it in the beginning of the parak that all these Mishnayos are Rabbi Yossi. Yes, according to Rabbi Yossi, Tashmish Shamita is Dvarim Shebeina Lebeina. Of course, yes, the husband can be made for it. But our question is, would the Rabbanan hold that maybe it's even more than Dvar Shebeina Lebeina? It's a Tashmish Amita is considered an ini nefesh type of nether, because they don't have such high standards as Rabbi Yossi to make something an ini nefesh type of nether. So that's the question. What would Rabbanan hold? So the Gemara leaves that unresolved. New Gemara, and then just one more point, and then that will stop. Amar Shmuel Mishmei de Levi. Shmuel said in the name of Levi. According to Rabbanan, right? Let's say according to Rabbanan, if a man says, this is what Shmuel said in the name of Levi. Kol nedarim baal meifeli ishtoi. Most nedarim, a husband could nullify for his wife. Chutz, if she makes a neder, min hanasi al ploini, she'ena meifer. If she makes a neder that I'm never going to benefit somebody else, some person. Let's say she got into a fight with somebody and she said, my benefit should be usher on that person. So that neder could take effect, because that's not a neder of inu nefesh. It's not a neder of beinoi leveino. And therefore, okay, she says, I'm never talking to so-and-so. The husband cannot make for such a neder. She'ena mefer. Avo hanos ploini alai mefer. If she says, I'm never going to benefit from such and such a person, I'm never going to, she got into a fight with somebody. She says, I'm never going to let her talk to me, give her advice. I'm never going to eat by her, right? So then the husband could be made for such a neder. Now, this is a bechiddush, because why? What's she gaining from having this person in her life that she said, Hanois Ploni alai? If she could benefit from other people, she doesn't necessarily need this person, but sometimes it could lead to that the only person that could help her is that Ploni that she made a neder on. So it could cause intense pain. And therefore, according to Shmuel, even if she limited her neder to one person, said, I'm never benefiting from this and this person, the husband has a right to be mefer, because it could be she'll be left in a situation where the only one that could help her is that person. And if she made the nether, she wouldn't be able to benefit from such a person, and it will cause her intense amount of pain. The husband has a right to be mefer that nether, and it's an inu nefesh type of nether, where he can nullify that nether forever. So the Gemara challenges that. The Mishnah says, Tanam, we learned in the Mishnah, Paris Medina Ziolai. Let's say a woman said, I'm never eating the pears from New York City. So the Mishnah says, okay, so Yavi Lam and Medina Acheres, that the husband should bring her from pears from New Jersey. Okay, she's not eating fruits and vegetables. It's not a nether that he can mefer, that he can nullify. The nether takes effect, and we force him to bring Nedarim. So we force her to bring the fruits from somewhere else. So we see that even though she limited her nether to one place, it's not a nether that the husband has a right to be mefer. So the Gemara's question is, so then if she limited her nether to one person that she's not going to benefit, why does Shmuel say he could be mefer? Amar Rabbi Yosef said, the Ka'amar shetavi. It's not that she asked all the fruits of New York on herself. And the husband now has to go to New Jersey. Is she asked the husband from bringing fruits from New York to her? But if somebody else brings fruit from New York to her, she doesn't have a problem with it. She only has a problem if her husband picks up the fruit in New York and brings it to her. So since technically she could benefit from the fruits of New York if somebody else brings it for her, so therefore it's not a nether that the husband can be mefer. Mashenking, what Shmuel is talking about, she totally ushered one person on her, and that the husband has a right to be mefer such a nether. Tashma, come in here. A woman says, Peres chenvani zeh alai, ein yochol lahafer. She says, the fruits of this storekeeper should be also to me. He cannot be mefer, the nether. He cannot be mefer, the nether. So the question is, Peres chenvani zeh alai. She said, I'm not going to go to this store. I'm not going to this particular ShopRite. So he cannot be made for such a nether. Why? Because she could go to other stores. Yes, but didn't we say that if she limits herself to this store, that's enough of a nether that the husband could be made for such a nether? That's what Shmuel said. Hanar is pointing a lie. Even though it's limited to one particular person, it's a nether that he could be made for. And why does our Mishnah say you can't be made for? She said that I'm asking my husband to go into that store to bring me that fruit. But if somebody else would go into that ShopRite and bring it to me, I can benefit from it. So she didn't totally answer that store. Unlike what Shmuel is talking about, she's totally answered that person. But then the Gemara doesn't say that doesn't sound right, because the Mishnah says, if it was the only store that gave him credit, then if that particular store that she said she doesn't want to benefit from was the only store that would give credit to the husband to take the fruits, even though he doesn't have the money to pay, so then he could be made for it. Why? Because if he can't go into that store, then he can't go into any store, because sometimes he doesn't have money and he will never be able to buy from another store, because none of them are offering him credit. So therefore, it's going to come out, she won't be able to have fruits and vegetables because he cannot go into that store. So that's a nether that he could be made for. The Amrit, if you want to say that our Mishnah is talking about the Ka'amar Shetavi Ata, Amayafer, if our Mishnah has to be synchronized, that our Mishnah is only talking about that she's only answering the husband from going into that store, so then why does he could be made for it? There's a possibility that somebody else could go into that store and bring her fruits and vegetables in that store. So therefore, why is it considered a nether that could lead to inu nefesh? She'll have her son go into that store and get the fruits and vegetables to her. So elamid the sefer the loy ma'ase baal hava reishanami the komaisi ihu. Since the end of the Mishnah is not talking about the husband bringing, it's talking about everybody is also to that store. So the beginning of the Mishnah means the beginning of the Mishnah is also talking about that she can never do it, and she doesn't want anybody to bring her fruits from that particular country. Our Mishnah is talking about the Mishnah says in the beginning of the Mishnah that he cannot be nullify such a neder, even though she totally answered that Paris from that country. In other words, what the Gemara is saying here is that the Gemara is saying there must be that Paris Medina Zu Alai, when she says this fruits of this particular country, let's say we're saying New York, should be also to me, she's saying that I don't care who brings me this fruit. If even myself, if I walk into any fruit store in New York, I'm not eating it. So the Mishnah says, he can bring her, he has to bring her from another country. It's not a neder that he could be made for. It's talking about she totally asked the fruits of New York. So then, and the Mishnah says, he cannot be made for such a neder. So, but Shmuel said that if you limit your neder to one particular person, it's a type of neder that you could be made for, because maybe you're going to someday need that person, nobody else can help you. And why don't we say the same thing? Maybe there's not going to be any fruits anywhere else, and you're going to need to eat the fruits from this location of New York, and so that should be considered an inu nefesh. And yet our Mishnah says it's not an inu nefesh, and you cannot be made for such a neder. So our Mishnah seems to be a difficult question against Shmuel. Shmuel says it's a neder that you could, a limited neder. It could be made by the husband, and our Mishnah says a limited neder of Medina Zu cannot be made by the husband. Answers the Gemara, we go to Pei Beis and Mabeis, Masnisin Rabbi Yossi. Our Mishnah, yes, is going to according to Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Yossi has an opinion that in order to be classified as inu nefesh, it has to be a very intense pain. So therefore. That's why our Mishnah says he cannot be made for it. A whole entire parak is Rabbi Yossi. What does our Mishnah mean? He cannot be made for it. He cannot nullify the neder. If she says, Paris, the fruits of New York should be also to me, is mishum ini nefesh. That's not considered a big pain. But it's considered a neder that can be nullified. Nonetheless, it could be nullified because this causes the husband, now he has to go to New Jersey to always pick up fruits. And therefore, it causes a marital strife. So our Mishnah does agree it's a husband, beinoi leveinot type of neder that could be nullified, but it's not an inu nefesh type of neder. And that's what our Mishnah means, that yes, he should bring it. He should work out. If he doesn't want to nullify it, he should bring it from another country. And if not, yes, he could be made for that neder. But according to our Mishnah, if he would die, then the neder would take effect again because it's a devar shebeino leveino type of neder. Shmuel is going according to the Rabbanan, and Rabbanan hold that any type of pain is considered. Even a light type of pain is considered a dvam she'inu nefesh type of neder. So according to Shmuel, according to Rabbanan, if a woman would say, Hano is plenty light, I'm never benefiting from that person, I'm never eating, I'm never taking any benefit from such and such a person, Yafer, Mefer, that husband could nullify the neder. It's a dvam she'inu nefesh, and once he nullifies the neder, it's forever nullified. Okay, we covered a lot today. Bez Hashem will continue from Pei Beis and Beis tomorrow.